Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Monday's Look North, our top story tonight. Housing for the future. The government announces more homes, but campaigners voice concerns over building on green space.
Property developers just seem to want to take every bit of green space, and it just impacts the whole of the people who live here.
And thousands line the streets in a fond farewell to rugby league legend Rob Burrow, whose funeral was held yesterday. The new Chancellor and Leeds MP Rachel Reeves says she wants to loosen plans on rules to encourage investment, also tonight. An inquest hears a 4-year-old girl died within days of leaving A&E after a 6-hour wait to be seen by a doctor. And it's 40 years since York Minster caught fire. We look back at the blaze that destroyed the South Transept.
Well, it looked like summer had arrived in Caton Bay this morning. Absolutely beautiful conditions, but you've guessed it, it's not going to last. Join me for the week ahead forecast.
Hello, thank you for your company this evening. The new Chancellor, Leeds MP Rachel Reeves, has announced a shake-up of planning rules. The government wants to build 1.5 million new homes nationally over 5 years. That could mean 150,000 here in Yorkshire, as compulsory building targets for local councils return. The government thinks it will boost the economy, but it's likely to be controversial. Here's our business correspondent, Spencer Stokes.
New homes are required, but where to put them? It's a thorny issue that successive governments have failed to grasp. The job of Housing Minister occupied by 10 different MPs since 2017. Labour's new appointment, Matthew Pennycook. But it was the Chancellor of the Exchequer setting out the new policy today.
Including 1.5 million homes in the next 5 years.
Councils will be set mandatory housing targets, and there'll be a review of land that's classed as green belt.
We will reform the national planning policy framework, including restoring mandatory housing targets. The Deputy Prime Minister will also write to local planning authorities, making clear what will now be expected of them, including universal coverage of local plans and reviews of green belt boundaries.
In Old Tofts near Wakefield, residents have campaigned against new houses in their village, concerned about the loss of green space and the added pressure on local services. The final decision on whether this development goes ahead will be made next week, but the land has already been ploughed up in anticipation of 500 homes being approved. They'll be built on fields where for decades wheat and barley was grown.
The roads and the infrastructure just cannot take it. It will probably increase the village size by over a quarter, which for me is not proportionate.
But people do need homes.
So I do accept that more homes are needed, more affordable homes are needed, but I just don't believe that this is the right location because it's not in proportion.
The government hopes building more homes will create economic growth, but also push down house prices with supply outpacing demand. That's welcomed by one campaign group.
We will not tackle the housing crisis without building more homes. It will not get better. In fact, it will just continue to get worse. We need to make sure that what we're doing is ameliorating concerns that can be ameliorated and then getting on with building. But you can't have a veto power over development in your area, I think is roughly where the direction we need to go.
And whilst some areas are struggling to build homes, other local authorities are ahead of historic targets. Doncaster Council plans to build nearly 1,000 houses every year until 2035, far exceeding the local need. 120 will be constructed at this woodland near the racecourse.
Doncaster Council declares a climate and biodiversity emergency. They've said that they will protect green spaces. They've said there's a presumption against developments that result in the loss of trees and woodland, and yet building here, this is their land that they're selling off to developer. It goes against everything that they tell the public we need to do to stop the climate and biodiversity emergency.
Doncaster Council says new trees will be planted across the borough. Throughout the region, similar sites to this could now be drawn into a debate about new homes and where to build them. Spencer Stokes, BBC Look North, Doncaster.
Well, tomorrow the regional mayors will meet the Prime Minister at Downing Street. David Rose is here now. Let's start with house building. Hitting those targets, David, is not going to be easy. That's a lot of houses.
In one word, are we building 30,000 new homes? No, we are not. This is what we have in our region over the past 3 decades. If we go back to 2016, we had 2006, should I say, we had 16,000 new homes built in the region in that year, the best year in the last 30 years. As for the Tories, their best year was 14,000 new homes. That means if Labour want to hit their target, they're going to have to double the number of new homes built in Yorkshire each year. That is a very big ask. Away from housing, Yorkshire's 3 mayors are meeting the Prime Minister tomorrow, and funding for transport will be a key theme.
It's also about bringing buses back into public control. I made the decision before the election to do that. We need that connectivity, and I know that government really understand that we've got to get people to those jobs, to those opportunities. The way you do that is through transport. That's why I'm so excited to be able to be working with Lou Haigh, who as a Sheffield MP understands how we've been held back.
Lou Haigh is the new Transport Secretary, and this is what she confronts: bus passenger numbers in free fall. Again, blue for Tory governments, red for Labour. Go back to 1986, there were 741 million bus passenger journeys in Yorkshire. In 2023, that number had fallen by 2/3. Labour have been very clear. They believe taking bus networks out of the control of private companies and back into public ownership, as is planned in West Yorkshire, that will stop this decline. And what about a very big and very simple question? Is a new Labour government going to spend more money here in Yorkshire? Well, this is the current picture. Per person, London gets the most. Each person in the capital gets over £14,000 spent on them each year. In our region, that figure is £11,800. We get the lowest amount of funding of any region in the north. Experts say the new government needs to commit early to funding big projects here in Yorkshire.
I want the north of England to prosper, and that means we need Northern Powerhouse Rail, we need a new tram in West Yorkshire, we need a down payment on the infrastructure we need in this country. That isn't about simply spending more money, because we spend a lot of money in Bradford, but we spend it on benefits, we spend it on the cost of health inequality. I want the money that this government spends to be about unlocking economic opportunity.
The next election might not be until 2029, but in terms of delivering on the promises you've made during an election, Amy, Labour will soon find out. 2029 is just round the corner.
Certainly is, David. Thank you. Really well explained there with the graphics. I've been speaking to the Labour Mayor of South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard. I started by asking him if he's expecting opposition to the house building plans that we heard about.
What we have to do is put delivery first. We have to grow the economy, we have to provide opportunity for people, and if we're going to do that, we have to put politics to one side. We have to do the right thing for South Yorkshire, for the whole country, and that will mean absolutely sometimes taking tough, difficult decisions. But I think what people are sick of, what they've been sick of over the last few years, and I think what the election result the other day reflected, was that actually people want us to get on and deliver, and that's what the government have said, and I'll be there to support them in that ambition.
Even if that means building housing where there isn't the right infrastructure, where there's big local pushback?
Well, look, there always has to be a balance, doesn't there? There has to be a balance between local challenges, local concerns, but also local needs, because we have a housing crisis in this country. We have young people, we have families who can't get the housing that they need, can't get on the housing ladder, are insecure, are in insecure housing. That can't carry on. And so we're going to fix that problem. That will be a challenge, of course. The last government didn't grip that problem. This government will.
Rachel Reeves also talked about energy infrastructure and taking decisions on a national level. Does that not take the power away from you, local mayors?
I don't think it does. I think, look, there are always going to be big strategic projects that are decisions about those projects that are going to be taken at a national level, but we're going to work with the government on those strategic projects, for instance on small modular nuclear reactors and where they're built and how they're built. That's a growth area for a place like South Yorkshire. We can build those small modular nuclear reactors of the future and take advantage of that opportunity, but where those decisions are taken will be a conversation between us, between central government and obviously between our communities.
But the whole idea of mayors is local power to local people. By taking those decisions on a national level, does it not take it away from the people that matter?
No, and on a whole range of areas, the government have already said they want mayors to be in the driving seat, but there will of course be some decisions that are taken at a national level, and we will work with government on those decisions to make sure that our local voices are heard in those conversations. It's why we're going down tomorrow to meet with Keir Starmer and have that conversation about how the mayors and government can work together.
What would you like to hear from the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer tomorrow?
It's what I've already heard, which is growth is the central mission of this government. It's my central mission, not because we want growth for growth's sake, but because we want to provide the opportunity for everyone that lives in South Yorkshire. The test of this Labour government is whether places like South Yorkshire grow, thrive, whether we are providing opportunities for everyone to stay near and go far, and that's the conversation we'll kick off tomorrow with Keir and the team.
Oliver Coppell, thank you.
Thank you.
You are watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Steel determination, school children in Halifax getting tips on fitness and healthy eating from a TV gladiator. But before that, an inquest has heard how a 4-year-old girl died within days of leaving A&E in Wakefield after a fruitless 6-hour wait to be seen by a doctor. McKenna Rose Thackeray from Rothwell died in 2022. Her father said he believes that there were missed opportunities to save his daughter's life. Mark Hansel reports.
An inquest jury heard today that McKenna Rose Thackeray was diagnosed with scarlet fever in December 2022. The disease causes a high fever and sore throat and can be dangerous in young children if not treated. Her mum, Danielle Ledger, tried to get penicillin at 4 separate pharmacies without success. There was a national shortage at the time. She was prescribed other antibiotics instead, but they failed to improve McKenna Rose's condition. Later that month, she started coughing up blood. So her parents took her to A&E at Pinderfields Hospital. Miss Ledger says a nurse saw her daughter and contacted the on-call doctor, but after a 6-hour wait, they left. Her daughter was poorly, lethargic and burning up, and they weren't encouraged to stay. McKenna Rose died on the 20th of December 2022. In a statement, her father said there were missed opportunities to save his daughter, and he would like those responsible to admit their failures and learn from them. NHS witnesses are expected to address the inquest when it resumes here at Wakefield Coroner's Court tomorrow. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Wakefield.
So very sad. Just take a look at these images. Thousands of people lined the streets yesterday for the funeral of rugby league legend Rob Burrow. The former Leeds Rhinos star died last month, aged 41, almost 5 years after being diagnosed with motor neuron disease. Huge crowds gathered before a private service in Pontefract.
Yorkshire's hero, he's a legend, isn't he? Amazing. The work that he did for the charity and everything, just incredible.
Inspiration. I just think he's inspired a lot of people and brought a lot of people together as well.
A sad day, very sad day. But we're all here to pay his respects. The man just got on with things, and then he's done a lot of fundraising and he's helped a lot of people. And what a guy, what an absolute guy, what a legend.
That's the person he was from the day he was diagnosed. He just fought it to the very end. He's raised millions and millions, and everybody knows what MND is now.
It's a remarkable legacy, not only for MND, but for rugby league and for sport in general. And I think so many people will be inspired by his ability as a player, his determination, his never say die attitude.
Just a tough human being, and to see how he's handled this is inspiring to me, to his teammates and to everybody involved in the community.
Everybody wanted to come out and just show support for Rob's family, and just an amazing man, absolutely. Fantastic.
So proud of him for what he's done for rugby league.
Gosh, what an incredible turnout. So many people were inspired by Rob's resilience and determination following his MND diagnosis, and Ian Flatt is one of them. Like Rob, Ian was diagnosed with the disease in 2019 and since then has completed several gruelling challenges to raise money for the new treatment centre in Leeds. Yesterday, on Robborough Day, he completed his 7 Mountains Challenge, inspired by the number worn by the former rugby league player. Ian is with us now. Ian, we will chat about your incredible achievement shortly, but to complete your challenge on the day that Rob was laid to rest is so significant, isn't it?
It really is. You know, when we set about planning this challenge last August, the first parameter that we had was that we had to finish on the 7th of July, on Robborough Day. At that point we didn't even know which mountains, and it was, of course, with the hope that Rob would join us on that last mountain. So as Rob sadly passed away, it just became more and more significant and important to the whole team, not just to me, you know, that we had to do something for Rob on that day of all days.
So it's completed yesterday,
Yep.
your 7th and final mountain.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Because it's been an exhausting 3 weeks for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been tough, yeah. But incredible fun, Amy, and so rewarding, you know, and I've been inspired, I've been absolutely privileged to be around some wonderful people. You know, there were times where I wondered if we would get through it. So yeah, we did.
You battled horrible weather on some of these climbs, and for anyone they're real challenges, but someone explained to me when I joined you on the first climb that for you it's like doing 2 marathons, but your body doesn't have that time to recover.
Yeah, the climbing, and of course the inclines are take quite a toll. But ultimately I'm doing something I really love, doing something I've always loved. And I'm doing it with people who are very special. And I'm doing it inspired by Rob, by the M&D community. So, you know, a little bit of discomfort here and there, and a little bit of recovery time is fine by me.
You rest up. Ian, well done. We're really proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me as well.
What a guy. Well done, Ian. Now tomorrow marks 40 years since the fire at York Minster completely destroying the south transept. More than 130 firefighters attended the blaze, trying to stop it from spreading. It would take 4 years to rebuild the damage that was done in just a few hours. Michelle Lyons has been to meet some of those who were there on that night.
It was the biggest cathedral fire in modern-day history, lighting up the sky over York. Lightning struck the south transept of York Minster, totally destroying its roof. More than 130 firefighters fought the blaze and weren't sure whether they'd win the battle.
At one point we thought we might actually lose this fire, and we had a really petrifying sense of almost personal loss. We thought we can't let it go, and that's one of the reasons why we stayed there and continued to do what we were doing.
Staff at the Minster also played their part, desperately trying to save as many historic artefacts as possible. John David was working there as a stonemason at the time.
I was on the west end of the Minster, and the flames were coming out of the roof at the gable end, the south end of the transept, and creating a sort of hole in the roof, of the lead of the roof, as the lead melted. And so you just went in and helped move anything, and if somebody was carrying an altar carpet out, you got on the other end and just carried that out.
Amidst the chaos and confusion of the night, an 11-year-old girl was also lending a hand. Alex Mayland lived opposite York Minster. Her father was a canon and treasurer there. He told her to stay in bed, but being inquisitive, she snuck out.
So I went round to the west end of the Minster, where I saw the smoke and saw all the confusion and everything that was happening at the south transept. I wasn't allowed in the Minster, but I did help with some of the nuns with carrying some prayer books and hymn books to safety.
After the fire, donations started pouring in from around the world, and the south transept was rebuilt within 4 years. A remarkable achievement, but signs of that fateful night can still be seen today.
There is a very large crucifix which was there when the roof fell in, and when the timbers fell in, and when the lead from the roof splattered against the wall, and also where the beam came down.
A service will be held tomorrow evening to commemorate the fire's 40th anniversary and pay tribute to those men and women who helped save York Minster and restore it to the magnificent building we see today. And a very special service that promises to be too. It's being led by the Archbishop of York, Stephen Cotterill, and will be attended by 30 firefighters who actually attended that blaze and helped tackle it on the night. Now, the service will begin at 5 p.m. tomorrow here at York Minster, and everyone is welcome. But if you can't make it, don't worry. There's also a special exhibition on here at the moment. It's called Out of the Ashes, and it's running right now, right through until June next year.
Michelle, thank you. I'm sure many people will remember that night. And keeping with York, Nestlé says it's committed to a future in the city after a multi-million-pound upgrade of its chocolate factory. The site on Haxby Road now produces around 1.2 million Kit Kats every year. It used to be Rowntree's before being taken over by Nestlé in the 1980s. Good news. Now, school children in Halifax have had a very special lesson today in the benefits of keeping fit and eating the right stuff. Zach George, better known as Steele from the Gladiators TV show, hosted their sports day. How cool is that? He told the children, Tom Ingle, that he wasn't always a man mountain.
Who can do opposite arm swings?
Any school sports day immediately scores with a real-life gladiator. Zach George, better known as Steele when he's on the telly, got the children at Holy Trinity Primary in Halifax giving their all.
So who's got some dreams, who's got some goals?
But it's not just about the body, it's mind too. The school is having a happy and healthy week, and he's just the man with an inspirational story.
I used to be very different when I was a kid. I used to be overweight, really self-conscious, had no confidence, and I used to watch Gladiators and I used to absolutely love it. They used to be absolute superheroes. They could do all these games and they just looked in great shape. And I said to myself, I want to be a gladiator.
And he's being hunted by Steele.
And it's really important to use the platform that we have for greater good. And it is such a passion of mine to really get kids healthier.
But sometimes you do need an incentive. The school has recently got hold of some blender bikes.
There, you've got to put as quick as you can. Quick as you can.
The more you burn, the smoother the treat you earn.
Mentally, you can take all the bad things, the bad energy out and bring in new good energy.
And when you have a balanced diet, you feel happier.
How Steele used to not be healthy. If he still ate lots of junk food, then he wouldn't be a gladiator now.
So something to look forward to, being a gladiator. Do you fancy being a gladiator?
Yeah. He was telling us about confidence and how to be motivated. It was pretty exciting.
We want our children to grow up to be happy and healthy. I think the world that the children are growing up in today is very different, and we need to prepare them for that. Having Zach here today, it's been brilliant because he's really promoted that healthy mindset, that confidence, and just that the children can absolutely do it if they believe in themselves.
It's got to be all blended. Contenders ready? Because the next generation of gladiators definitely are. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Isn't that brilliant? He comes across as a really nice guy, doesn't he? Now, finally tonight, preparations are being made for the 165th Great Yorkshire Show. I think I've covered most of them. Around 140,000 people will head to Harrogate Showground over the next 4 days. Olivia Richwald is there for us now. Olivia, it looks like a glorious evening. I think you got the best of the weather.
I think so, Amy. Well, the final preparations have been made. The tents are up. Most of the animals are here and they've been tucked up for the night. The trophies have been polished and the rosettes are ready. It all starts tomorrow with 35,000 people expected every day over the next 4 days for the 165th show. And I've got some stats for you. Are you ready? There have been 12,000 entries into competitions from cattle to cheese and pigs to ponies. 220 trophies will be handed out and almost 10,000 rosettes. The crowds start arriving from 8 o'clock. But Amy, as you know, the weather is the one thing that can never ever be guaranteed here at the Great Yorkshire Showground. And many of the viewers and ourselves will remember 2012 when the show was famously terminated after just one day because the showground turned into a muddy quagmire. Well, earlier I asked the show director if that was likely to happen this year.
I was here in 2012. It is a very different situation. The showground is actually very dry at the moment, so no, it won't be an issue. In Yorkshire we're used to a bit of rain anyway.
Well, if animals are not your thing, then there's plenty of food and fashion and massive machines like this potato picker here to see. For the first time, there's also a second-hand garment stall and plenty of Yorkshire designers. Tickets have unfortunately all been sold out for this year, but don't worry, if you can't make it here yourself, you just have to watch Look North tomorrow. We'll have all the best bits. And of course, Amy, you and Paul will be here live in the rain.
Yes, we certainly will. We've got the best of the weather, I think, tomorrow. Paul's here. He's been away for a while, but he makes an appearance just in time for those free tickets to the Great Yorkshire Show.
Well, I'm looking forward to being drenched tomorrow morning at the Yorkshire Show.
Is it going to be that bad, Paul?
It is at first, but it's going to improve. The afternoon should get quite a bit better. The worst of the weather over the 3 days will be in the morning. So I look forward to seeing you in your wellies and your anorak or whatever you're going to wear.
We can just eat cheese for the first 3 hours, can't we?
That's fine. I'll buy you coffee as well. How about that? Anyway, Filey Brig, look at that. It looks like summer had finally arrived, but blink and you miss it. I think Monday will turn out to be the best day of the week, and we had more sunshine in York. The wheat crop there ripening quite nicely, which is a bit of a surprise considering what the weather's been like. But anyway, thanks for sending that in to me, and if you've got any pictures, I'll put them on Look North tomorrow night. The addresses are on your screen right now, so it does look very unsettled over the next 24 hours. A very wet start in the morning, some heavy and thundery rain, but the afternoon should be better, brighter, with 1 or 2 thunderstorms. Low pressure in charge once again. It becomes slow moving. Then some uncertainty about this next system, but at the moment this could threaten more rain later in the week and into the first part of the weekend, but there is a lot of uncertainty about that. But we look down to the south, the rain's as far north really as the M4 corridor, and it's going to march steadily northwards. So this evening will be very nice wherever you are, dry with some sunshine, but cloud and rain will spread bodily up from the south. A very wet end to the night across most places. A mild night as well, with lows of 12 Celsius, that's 54 Fahrenheit. So tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at 7:05, Bridlington at 7:20. So a very wet commute first thing in the morning. See all this rain, the greens indicate some heavy bursts in there. Very wet at the Yorkshire Showground in the morning, but the afternoon sees a brightening process. 1 or 2 thunderstorms, but by the time we're live at 6:30, I can almost guarantee it'll be dry.
I've got a hole in my wellies, so anything
brilliant.
could happen between now and tomorrow at 6:30. Right. It's nice to have you back, Paul.
Oh, it's nice to see you.
We will be live at the Great Yorkshire Show tomorrow night. If you are there, please come and say hello, even if you're a soggy mess like we are. Bye-bye for now.